Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. One of my most anticipated movies of this year and any year. I have now seen it, Blade Runner 2049, and I'm here to give you my review on it. And it is a movie that stars Ryan Gosling, Harrison Ford, Robin Wright and Jared Leto, and is directed by Denis Villeneuve. And it's a cliche to say it this, but truly Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner, is one of my favourite films of all time. It has been for many, many years. It was one of my favourite films when the film wasn't even fashionable, until it started finding its audience in like the 90s, the late 80s, 90s. But I was a champion of this movie for us even then. I just think it's such an influential science fiction masterpiece and an almost perfect movie. So the thought of them doing this movie initially to me was terrifying, even though Harrison Ford was on board and Ridley Scott was on board. Um, but as the production rolled on and you started hearing more and more positive things, I was starting to relax a little bit and relax a little bit, and then it's finally come out, and everybody is universally loving this movie, and I breathe a sigh of relief. And I've seen it myself, and I can say hand on heart, this is a modern masterpiece. It's everything I could have hoped for a Blade Runner sequel and more. They have delivered a perfect sequel, a standalone movie. So many movies these days are so worried about setting up further movies down the line and universes for this and new characters in the next movie, and this film doesn't care about any of that. It just makes a movie and delivers an almost perfect movie. Um, and I'm, I'm debating whether I should tell you much about the story, because I don't think I'm going to, only because I think this film needs to be experienced. There's very little I can tell you about this story without giving spoilers away, and I've no intention of doing that. All I will say is at the beginning of this movie we are introduced to Kay, Ryan Gosling's character, who is a Blade Runner, and his job is to seek out and retire the old model replicants. Some of them are still around, and at the beginning of the movie he retires a replicant that leads to an investigation that ends up with him eventually meeting up again with Harrison Ford's Deckard. And that's all I'm going to say in the story. There's nothing else I can say without giving spoilers away. Needless to say, if you're interested in seeing this movie, you must go and see it. Straight off the bat, it's a superb movie, a visual feast. I think one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. They've created or added new layers to the Blade Runner universe. It feels like you're still watching the first Blade Runner. It feels grimy and dirty and wet and dark and grim, and but at the same time absolutely stunning at times. I just struggle to understand how they've actually managed to create this movie, because it is just amazing. The music, it feels again familiar but new and fresh. The performances throughout the movie are just breathtaking. Everybody gives great performances. Ryan Gosling, I mean, up until I'd seen The Nice Guys last year, which was my favourite movie of last year, the movie he made with Russell Crowe, ever since then I'm full on Ryan Gosling fan. I thought he was just outstanding in that movie, amazing. But the performance he gives in this trumps anything I've seen him in before. I just think he's absolutely wonderful in this movie. Everybody that we've got Robin Wright in here, great performance. Obviously we've got the legend that is Harrison Ford, and again he gives, you could tell this is a project and a character that he really cares for, but he gives a really layered and deep performance as Deckard. Probably he has far less airtime in this movie than he did in the first movie, and I think anybody with a bit of intelligence going into this movie knows that this movie doesn't focus essentially on him, even though he's in it. But from what we do see of Harrison Ford in this movie, he gives a real, I think, one of his top performances. It's right up there with his performance in Witness. This performance, and he truly cared about this project, as everybody did on board. The director Denis Villeneuve, who is vastly becoming a genius director. His reputation is just gathering pace with every film that he makes, and I defy anybody to watch this movie and find any serious fault with it. From a filmmaking perspective, from a writing perspective, anything that you want to pick at with this movie, whether it be filmmaking, writing, acting, sound, cinematography, effects, everything is of amongst the best I have ever seen. I can't give you a negative because I don't feel as though there is any, and it's not often I can honestly say I can think of that at all. Some people might go into this movie not really understanding, or if you don't like the first Blade Runner, or you didn't get it, you're not particularly going to feel the same about this. You're not going to get this one either, I don't think, because the pacing is very similar to the first one. It's not an action fest. There is action in it, but this film focuses on telling a story in this wonderful sci-fi universe. It isn't a film that worries about giving cheap entertainment to an audience or pandering to an audience at all. It doesn't. It focuses just on telling a story. And it is my understanding that this movie is underperforming a little bit at the box office, which blows my mind really. A film as good as this deserves to be absolutely film of the year, both critically and financially, because for me there's no film I've seen this year is on the level of this. I've seen a lot of good movies this year, but I can't imagine a film coming close to this. This is streets ahead of anything else I've seen this year, and probably for the last couple of years. I can't sing this praises enough for this movie. I just can't. I just implore you, if you are a science fiction fan and you've never seen the first one, go and watch the first Blade Runner, and then get your ass at cinema and get this one seen, because this film deserves to be watched, deserves to be seen, and it is a movie that deserves to find an audience, because it's not right now at the cinema, which is just ridiculous really. Look at the ratings it's getting with critics and reviewers and Rotten Tomatoes, even though I don't hold much stock in that. You know, it's a stunning movie, and if I had to pick, I don't want to pick. I was just about to pick between the first Blade Runner and this. I can't pick. To me, they stand perfectly side by side as a perfect two movies. So for me, this is my first on the channel, my first 10 out of 10. I can't fault it, so therefore it's a 10 out of 10 for me. Go see it now.